today's lesson, I'm going to walk you through how to play a melodic and meaningful blues solo using just a small handful of notes. As always, the tabs and backing track for this lesson are available on my Patreon page. My name is Jack Ruch. Welcome to my channel. Let's get into it. So today we're going to play over a simple 3-chord blues in the key of A. The chords are going to be A7, D7, and E7. This is what's commonly referred to as a 1-4-5 blues progression because of each chord's interval relationship back to the key. Now, to build our solo, all we're going to use is notes from the A major pentatonic scale. The scale is A, B, C sharp, E, and F sharp. And continuing up A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, and then back to A. But all we're going to use is the very top part of this position. The notes E on the 5th fret of the B string, F sharp on the 7th fret of the B string, A on the 5th fret of the high E string, and B on the 7th fret of the high E string. We're also going to use a couple of bends. We're going to bend from B up to C sharp on the high E string, and from B up to C, just a half step bend on the high E string. We're also going to bend from F sharp up to G sharp on the 7th fret of the B string when we get to the 5 chord. Now, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to understand the relationship between the notes in our solo and the underlying chords. Even though we're working with a relatively small handful of notes here, we have to understand how each note relates to the chord we're playing over. So as we're working through this solo, I'm going to use a few basic bar chord shapes to help us visualize things on the fretboard. I'm also going to refer to notes by their interval name, for instance, the root or the third. If this doesn't quite make sense to you, that's totally okay. All I'm referring to is that note's interval relationship to the chord. For instance, C sharp is the major third of an A major chord. E is the root of an E major chord. So to start out, we play this line right out of the A major pentatonic scale. And we're really targeting the root of this chord, the A note on the 5th fret of the high E string, to help reinforce the sound of this A7 chord. Then in measure 2, we move to the 4 chord, D7. This is what's referred to as a quick change in the blues. So to outline this chord, we're going to visualize this D bar chord shape. And right away we can see that one of our notes, this note F sharp, is right within the chord. It's actually the third of that chord. So we're going to target that note and play a very similar line to our first line, but now land on F sharp over the D chord. So throughout this solo, you'll notice that I'm going to use some similar phrasing motifs, and that's to create some continuity and help tie these lines together. When we move back to the 1 chord, I'm going to use a similar A major pentatonic line, but this time I'm going to bend from B up to C sharp. Right? C sharp is the third of A7. So again, I'm thinking about how the notes in the solo relate back to the underlying chord. Then we play the line again and land on the root, the note A. In measure 5 of this progression is when we head back to the 4 chord D7. And for this I'm going to play a similar line, but instead of bending from B up a whole step to C sharp, I'm going to bend up a half step to C. Right, C is the flat 7 of a D7 chord. And if we look at this D7 bar chord voicing right here, we can notice that C is right there on the top of the chord. So we're going to bend to that. Then we're going to play a similar line and the second time around and come down on the F sharp note like we did the first time over the 4 chord. Which again is the third right out of our D7 chord shape. So even though I'm playing an incredibly simple group of phrases here with just a few notes, I'm still conscious of the harmony and exactly what notes fit over the different parts of the chord progression. So now going back to the 1 chord, I'm going to repeat some of the phrases from earlier in the solo, right? Right, again, so I'm using some motifs and some repetition to create a solo that kind of tells a story and takes you on a little melodic journey here and doesn't get too cluttered and get too far away from the basic theme that we're trying to build here. So now as we move to the 5 chord, right, I'm going to bend this F sharp note up to G sharp. Right, and again, I'm going to visualize an E bar chord here. And when I look at this E bar chord, I see that the 3rd of this chord is G sharp. Just like when we played our D chord, I was targeting F sharp. Now I'm targeting this G sharp. But instead of playing that note, I'm just going to bend this F sharp note up a whole step. Right, and then I'm going to come down and target the root over that E chord. So again, I'm thinking about the root of the chord, I'm thinking about the 3rd of the chord, and I'm just using this very simple position here to kind of get to all those changes, but I'm very conscious about how each one of those notes that I'm playing relates to the underlying chord. And that's the big theme here with this solo. So now that we've worked through these chords playing these simple phrases, the next step is to spread it around the fretboard and play it in different octaves and different positions. We can play the exact same solo down one string set up in this upper position up here. Or we can drop the whole thing down an octave and play it down in this lower position. Learning things like this will help you get the most out of these concepts and these lines, and you can really maximize your vocabulary and learn it all over the fretboard. I also really encourage you to practice this in all 12 keys and playing over different types of grooves at different tempos. So I hope you got something good from this lesson. As always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. Drop me a comment, let me know what you thought of this lesson, and happy practicing. I will catch you next time. Take care.